Okay, great. We've established due process as a really important, fundamental ideal and idea in our legal system. And we've talked about that at a minimum, due process is about the opportunity to be heard, the opportunity to defend yourself, the opportunity to speak and say what you want to say. Basically, you have to be given a hearing before the government can do anything to you or against you. That's sort of in a nutshell. But I now want to talk about another aspect of due process that is equally important and often is overlooked, but it's super important. And that is the burden of proof. What the burden of proof is, and again, I'll put this in plain English, is that the person making the accusation, if it's a civil action, the plaintiff, right? The party who brings the lawsuit. If it's a criminal case, right, the prosecutor, the government, right, who's bringing criminal charges against Joe Exotic, right? Whether we're talking about a civil or criminal case, the burden of proof has to be on the party making the allegations or making the accusations. That is a really important aspect of due process. That's why I say it's so fundamental. So it's the prosecutor who has to prove his or her case that Joe Exotic engaged in murder for hire. Or if you're talking about the allegations against Carol Baskin, right? It's the prosecutor again, or the people making the allegations. They have to prove their case. It's not up to Carol Baskin to explain to us, what she was doing on the night of that Don Lewis disappeared. It's up to, if you want to make the allegation, it's up to you to do, or in this case, the prosecutor and the police to do their investigation and bring their case, bring their charges. Also in a civil case, right? When you sue somebody else, it's up to the plaintiff to prove their case. That's why the burden of proof is so important. What's really, to me, amazing about our legal system, our common law tradition, it is that, in fact, judges have, over the centuries, created multiple levels of burdens of proof, depending on the stage in which a case finds itself or depending on the type of case it is. The most difficult and demanding burden of proof is the one we're most familiar with, and that is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And proof beyond a reasonable doubt is a very high standard, right? And it's used in criminal cases, right? So when Joe Exotic was accused of murder for hire, or when, these allegations swirling around Carol Baskin, right? To prove that case, the prosecutor is going to have to show, beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury of the defendant's peers that that crime was committed. So it's a very high legal standard indeed. Now in civil cases, what's really interesting, it's a different standard. The standard is preponderance of the evidence. And I want to talk about that standard, preponderance of the evidence, in my next video because it's so important. You cannot really understand the key distinction between civil and criminal cases without understanding the preponderance standard. All right, thank you for your attention, and I'll see you soon.